What we do here is go back. What we do here is go back.
Yeah, that's the one. Good evening, everyone. Mike here, Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. Welcome to your Saturday evening stream. It is the 26th of June, 2021. We've made it through to the end of June and still got all the arms and legs, so that's a good sign. How you guys doing? Hopefully you're all doing well, feeling good. What a week it's been. Who would have thought it was actually Amazon Prime last week, the Prime Day sales. That has been completely obliterated by the monstrosity that has been Windows 11. I'm still not sure how I feel about it. I'm slightly optimistic than I generally am for new Microsoft operating systems. It seems there's going to be some fallout. Let's not beat around the bush. There are going to be some of those which are going to be frustrated, scared possibly, not being able to upgrade. And it looks like some of the new things which have been added into the specific system requirements for Windows 11 are going to push some people to either upgrade or just hold back and stay on Windows 10. Which for me seems like a bad move from Microsoft. I've been trying to work out in my head, excuse me, I've been trying to work out in my head why the sudden implementation of TPM in its glory. TPM in itself isn't actually a bad thing, and it's been used in offices and environments for a long time. So why now have Windows decided, or Microsoft decided, to make it a mandatory requirement for Windows 11? Now there's various reasons why this may or may not be. There's lots of conspiracy theories out there, such as it's Microsoft's way of getting people to buy new PCs if they've already bought themselves a Surface Pro 3, Surface Pro 4, Surface Pro 5, Surface Pro 6, the original Surface Book. All those kinds of devices are kind of essentially obsolete now. Now that's probably taking things a little bit too far. They're not obsolete, they still will run Windows 10 and obviously security updates up until 2025. But from a marketing point of view, if you're now trying to sell a slightly older PC or even one of your old Surface devices, in the back of your mind, and potentially at the back of the mind of the potential shopper, they're going to be thinking, this is a dead-end product. I can't upgrade it, or at least potentially can't upgrade it as things stand at the moment. So that is what we're going to be discussing tonight. Where do we go from here? We've now got to deal with the aftermath of the launch. We still don't know any real specifics, such as the exact launch date, Obviously that will come out shortly. We will be discussing ways of getting Windows 11 before the rest of the pack, so if you do want to be an early adopter and get involved and see what it's like, try it out on your machines, do some testing. If you're someone who builds PCs for people on the side, or maybe you work in a shop and you're doing it on a regular basis and you want to kind of get ahead, get a dev copy or a beta release from the Insider project, or Windows Insider project rather, then we'll be discussing how to go about doing all that and whether it's going to be beneficial. For me personally, I think actually if you are someone who does technical support, much like what we do here, we really need to be installing Windows 11 as soon as possible, looking at the quirks, ironing out all the issues which people are going to come across. It's going to happen. There are going to be people that are going to be left stranded with a certain specific configuration where they just can't do what they need to do. So for people like myself, other YouTubers, obviously those of you in the chat right now who are tweakers, not in the bad way, but in the good way. So tweaking with hardware components. You've got lots of people out there that I know specifically who build PCs. You've got Skystalker, Aletta, Patrick, Jad 2016, Markovsky, Ugly Bob, obviously. There's tons of you. I'm not going to mention everyone, but that's just some of the ones I can think of off the top of my head. So there are those of you.
Reading them in the comments.
Yeah, those of you out there which are building PCs for friends and family, and you do it as like a sideline to maybe facilitate your upgrades, etc., which I know a lot of you do, and I do myself still. I still build PCs for people, pass them on, and then use that money to invest into newer, more shiny things. So we're definitely going to have to learn to get to grips with Windows 11. It is a thing, and like what Kerry Holzman, God bless him, figured it was all a hoax, but I still don't understand the logic behind that. But anyway, I digress. So it is going to be a thing. And it is going to be a thing as of probably next week. So depending on when you're watching this, obviously if you're watching it live, it's going to be next week. If you're watching this as the video on demand, we're probably looking at a dev release of Windows 11 to the Insider ring probably before the end of the month. They have kind of indicated through some of the chat I've been going through in the Insider groups and forums that the 28th is the most likely. So for us in the UK, because obviously the time is a little bit ahead, we're probably looking sometime Monday afternoon for a release. For those of you in the United States and different time zones, obviously, yeah, it will be different. But there's a strong possibility, kind of 9 AM, 10 AM, Monday morning, there will be a new Insider release for Windows 11 for those brave enough to try it. So for those of you that have tried it already from the slightly illegitimately obtained Windows ISO from Windows 11, what do you think of it? I've been using it pretty extensively, and I've got to be honest with you, it works. It does what I need it to do. It seems a lot smoother, it seems snappy. Well, obviously, it potentially could be not laden with all the bloatware. I have used it with OneDrive and those kinds of things, so most of the services, from what I can tell, were actually running. And I've got to be honest with you, on exactly the same hardware, switching between Windows 10 and Windows 11, Windows 11 seems faster. Now, some of you may have seen benchmarks, people have done gaming benchmarks, and this kind of is all over the place, which is to be expected. It is a dev release, so some of the drivers may not be optimized, etc., etc., etc. But from what I can see at the moment, good things are coming, which is always a good sign. And I think for us as a PC community on the whole, we've had a rough 18 months so far, haven't we? It's not been great. There's been all sorts of things. We've had CPU shortages, we've had GPU shortages, we've had RAM price hikes, we've had hard drive shortages, we've had crypto mining, Chia, you name it. It's gone.
Sky didn't even get Prime Day.
No?
No, they cancelled it in Canada.
Unbelievable. Prime Day cancelled in certain regions. To be honest with you, you'd think it was cancelled here. It sucked. I don't think, well, I know for a fact I didn't buy anything on Prime Day. Not anything that was a Prime deal. There's things that I had to buy, like shopping, usual groceries, that kind of stuff. But other than that, it was kind of like, it's just another day. So we've had a pretty rough time. So I think it's nice that we've got something now potentially to look forward to, which is going to be a free upgrade for those of you on Windows 10. So if you're watching and you're wondering, I'm on Windows 10, am I going to get Windows 11? Is it going to cost me a fortune? Well, no, the easy answer is no. It's going to be free of charge to compatible devices. Compatible devices is going to be the bone of contention. It really, really is. Some of the new restrictions, again, going back to processor compatibility, motherboard compatibility, UEFI support, 4 gig as a minimum for RAM requirements, which I think is long overdue. It should have been that for Windows 10, to be completely honest with you. There are way too many devices that were running Windows 10 which were absolutely horrendous. Anyway, we'll talk about that more shortly. I will quickly acknowledge the super chat. So Ugly Bob has sent us a £5 super chat. Thank you, Bob. And it says, happy birthday to IKEA Shadow, you old bugger. Now you have an excuse to smell of wee-wee. Thanks for that, Bob. And we should say that IKEA is a very valued member of our community, even though sometimes he can be a little bit abrasive. I'm sure you won't mind me saying that, but IKEA, if you're watching this, wherever you are today or on the video on demand, happy birthday, mate. Welcome to the 40s. It's all downhill from now.
Dave burnt out.
Dave burnt out. That'll be his name now. Yeah. So we're in a kind of a crossroads, I think, as far as Windows is concerned. Now, there's going to be a massive amount of people out there who are going to be really happy just to stick on Windows 10, stay with what they've got, what they know. Businesses, obviously, if you've adopted Windows 10 and you're using it and it works, it's going to be one of those things where you're going to have to find out, does your software work with it? I think most software cases are going to be absolutely fine. Major businesses, when they're using things like, obviously, Office 365, obviously that is going to work, and it does work absolutely fine. Other things such as accounting packages and maybe more customized software, that is where things may start falling apart a little bit. There is actually, which no one's really reported on, Microsoft Edge in Windows 11 doesn't have the compatibility mode with the old Internet Explorer. I was going to say Windows Explorer, but the Internet Explorer. So currently in Windows 10, if you want to use older Internet Explorer apps which have been custom made for you that run in a browser, you can use them, it's not a problem. Windows 11 has removed that, and I'm surprised that no one's really picked up on that yet. So that is something, let us know in the comments. I'm not sure if there's going to be anyone here who does use those sort of things, but if maybe you work in large companies, large OEMs, or maybe government offices, that kind of thing, let me know. Do you use Windows applications or kind of web applications in Internet Explorer still? Because if you do, those are going to be the people that aren't going to be able to upgrade. I think I've said enough already.
You should say hello.
I should start saying hello to those that have been kind enough to join us for the chat, and we'll quickly do that now. I've been in the garden today, sunbathing, so the windows are still open. It's getting warm, getting very warm. So let's see who we've got in the chat. Sorry, just gonna scroll up. So we've got Ghost Adders with us, Pelperson, Ugly Bob, obviously. Scrolling through, Paul Bakewell. Hi, Paul Bakewell. Paul Bakewell, I do apologise for not releasing a video officially on Friday.
Bad Joke Friday.
Bad Joke Friday, we missed it, sadly. But I think the video we put out later on Thursday, we did 3 videos on Thursday, so it was kind of like we needed to let people have time to digest it, so we omitted Friday.
But we forgot the bad joke bit.
Yeah, no bad jokes.
Save them up for next week.
Who else we got? Ghost Adder. William Bodie says, hello from North Germany. Looking forward to the football? I'll tell you who isn't looking forward to the football, or is now probably in the pubs drowning their sorrows, our Welsh brethren. Wales, sadly, were outmatched, let's say, by Denmark today. So, yeah, 4-0. That's not great. Not great at all. So our thoughts and condolences are with the our Welsh brethren. Never nice when you see any of the kind of British Isles teams that are in tournaments getting knocked out or doing badly or just getting beaten full stop. Hell, being an English person myself, I know what it's like. It happens, so yeah. Our condolences.
When does it not?
Mark Barry says good evening all, and it's a goodbye to Matt Hancock. For those of you that don't live in the United Kingdom and not interested in our news, one of the kind of key figures of our government, how he ever got there I'd never know, but how he resigned today due to certain indiscretions involving a young lady which obviously his wife wasn't very pleased about, I imagine. So that's all gone very much Pete Tong. There's a lot of, not hate, that's a strong word, but there's a lot of animosity, let's say, towards Mr. Hancock in the UK in various circles. So yeah, I think there's a lot of people who potentially may have been commiserating at Wells' loss who are probably looking on the bright side, at least we've got rid of Matt Hancock. So anyway, let's move on from the political standpoint. So we've got Skystalker with us. Good afternoon, persons of planet Earth. And we've got Do the Evolution 78, who's back with us after some time away. We've missed you. Markovsky says good evening. Welly Bob's with us as well. We've also got Matthew Day, who's having a microwaved Cornish pasty. Good choice. I'm currently on a little bit of a kind of, not a detox, that's not really what I'm doing. Trying to cut out sugar, well, not sugar as such. This is going badly.
Not natural.
I'm trying to eat real foods, effectively. So during the day, I'm juicing like crazy. So we're having apples, bananas, berries, pears, fruits, all that kind of stuff in our new juicer, which we'll be doing a review of, because then basically I can claim it as a company expense. Also, we're drinking healthily, but we're eating healthily as well. So we've also got a water filter system to remove more stuff than the Brita ever did. So there's going to be a review coming up on that as well, because obviously tax deductible. So yes, we will be using that. And we do use it for work, drinking water. So
Tea and coffee.
tea and coffee is made using this new filtered water. And I've got to be honest with you, actually I've got a cup of tea here. It tastes amazing, it really does. It's surprising how much different filtered water actually makes your drinks taste. Especially for those in the southwest of the UK, our water is rubbish. It really is rubbish. It's got so much crap in it, it's unbelievable. So yeah, you'll be finding more about that at a later date. So who else have we got with us? We have got Pixelbyte says, hey, 2 days after Insider. Hey, 2 days after launch, Insider Windows 11. Bob says he can't wear a thong. He'd sneeze and cut himself in 3. That wouldn't be a pretty sight. That really wouldn't. And some of you have noticed as well, we've reverted, kind of accidentally on purpose, to the original music. So hopefully some of you have been pleased with that. So we've got Outlaw Fett with us, Aletta. Aletta's with us, she's not out shooting things. She says, is that the old music I hear? Amazing. It is. By popular demand. It's a work in progress. Kirk Bernard says, hello all. And we've got Pixelbyte, we said that. Outlaw Fat. William Bodie, blah blah blah. I think I've pretty much said everybody now. Looking for some Kenny D. Hi Kenny. I think that is Stuart Cleary. Good old Stuart Cleary.
Someone from Indonesia.
Ricardo's with us as well. Says hi Mike, hi Kath and everybody.
Eddie.
Jan 2016, I think we mentioned that already, but I can't remember if I did.
Eddie
Maybe I did.
didn't do it.
Dutch Jan's with us. Hi hoy everybody. John Sullivan, good old John. Misra 1898 says greetings Mike and Kath. Greeting. Whenever I see the word greetings, it always reminds me of an old 80s sitcom here in the UK. I think it might be in the 90s as well, called Bread. And it was about a Liverpool family who were kind of living off benefits and stuff, and it was funny. It was amusing. For its time, it was in keeping with the rest of comedy. But there was one character, I'm trying to think what his name was. Was it Joey? Yeah, Joey Boswell. And that was his catchphrase. He would come in, all with his leather trousers, leather jacket, looking really slick with his kind of George Michael haircut, and his thing would be, greetings! Every single time he'd come in, even if he was being arrested by the cops for doing something illegal, he'd be, greetings! Every time. Loved it. It's difficult to do Liverpool when you say greetings. I tried. Gary is with us as well. He said, I had a Windows 8 machine, hated it. Windows 11 seems like the same system. There are some similarities. The rounded edges, I think, the whole design ethic of Windows 11, I really like. I liked Windows 7, and I think a lot of people did. And Windows 7 was one of those operating systems which did pioneer those rounded edges. We saw a lot of that in Windows 7. So I think a lot of people, if you enjoyed Windows 7, I think you're going to enjoy Windows 11. 711. Nice one. Who else we got with us? Let's move on from that. So another super chat from, who was that from? Skystalker, $5 and $5 is happy birthday Dave for Chaos Shadow. Have fun in London.
Oh, did you ignore that? You're terrible.
Sorry, I did see it flash, but I forgot. Rafi says, I'm Indonesian. Awesome.
Outlaw Fat just did one as well. You missed.
Outlaw Fat,
I'm
thank you
agreeing
very
to
much.
11, I think. How are you doing?
Sorry, I'm losing my track here altogether. So that was Skystalker. I really should use a mouse. It'd make life a lot easier. Has anybody noticed my chair as well? New chair with, well, I'll show you the stitching, but you'll never see it from there. It's got some really elaborate red stitching, and it is made from a new material, which isn't leather, but it's very, very leather-like.
Leather.
It's pleather, yes, plastic leather. No, it's, I'm not sure what they even call it. They call it normalized leather, but I don't know what that means. If you've ever ridden a motorbike saddles generally tend to be made from the same stuff. So if you've had maybe an old Yamaha or an old Triumph, there's really nice seats where you sit on it. It's just really nice, stretchy material. Doesn't make you sweat. Doesn't make you feel uncomfortable. Feels cool to the touch even when it's hot. It's that stuff, and they've made a chair out of it. So this was sent to us by, I can't remember the name now. It says it on the pillow, doesn't it? Dowinks. So Dowinks sent us this chair to review, and I've done the unboxing, I've done the build of it, and I've just been doing the sitting part of it, which is the review. I love this chair. It is super comfortable. It's one of the few chairs where some of my other chairs were quite big, and they were a pain in the ass to actually get in here behind this desk. But with this one, after using it sat on my computer desk over there editing, I feel like I kind of need this chair now. It's become a part of me, kind of welded to my backside. So I really do like this chair. So that's why I made the effort. Rather than sitting on the old tattooist chair, which I normally sit on, I'm having some comfort. And it is extremely comfortable. And it's even got electric massage built into the chair. So not only is it a gamer chair, office chair, whatever chair you want, it's also got built-in massage feature as well. Amazing. That was the key point for me. I didn't even know it had it until it arrived. And I was like, where the hell's it got a USB cable? Ah, massage, and it works really well. Anyway, yes, Kath.
Mark wants to know, is it good for your piles?
Is it good? Yes, it is. For piles, it's amazing. The seat cushion is almost 5 inches thick of foam, which is kind of, that's a 6-inch ruler. So it's a little bit shorter than that. So that is 5 inches there. So that is the padding, which is, yeah, like that. That is a lot of padding. That's basically almost 2 motherboard boxes high. So it's actually very, very soft and comfortable. So if you are a sufferer of the old Farmer Giles, this might be just the thing for you, because it does relieve a lot of pressure on the Batimus. So yeah. There'll be a full review and unboxing coming up very shortly. That is if I ever manage to do it. It is very comfortable. I watched on Amazon Prime. I'm a very big proponent of Amazon Prime. I actually sat and watched 2 movies back to back in this chair without moving, which normally most chairs I'd have to get up at some point and do something just to kind of move around a bit. Watch was going crazy. Is the fitness app was going, it's time to move. It's time to move. It's like, nah, I'm staying here. I'm not moving. Absolutely brilliant. So that'll be coming up very shortly. Back to the Windows 11. So Markovsky says, I use a lot of audio stroke MIDI apps and they can be temperamental. Yeah, they can, definitely. I think as far as most apps go, because it's using essentially the Windows 10 kind of core code base, I think it's going to be fine. When it comes to certain apps which use the back end of Internet Explorer, that's potentially going to be a problem. I think overall it's going to be a decent upgrade. We've got loads of things actually going on under the hood which are going to improve the experience overall, which is brilliant. We've needed it for a while. Windows 10's been out, what, 5 years now? Is it 5 years? Feels like longer. Maybe it's 5, is it 5 years?
Windows 10.
When did Windows 10 come out? Someone let us know.
2015, wasn't it?
I'm sure it was about 2015. So yeah, 5-6 years. So it's about time we had something a bit new. Skystalker says, the government of Canada didn't switch to Windows 10 until 3 years ago. It will be a few years before we adopt Windows 11. We still use Explorer for many of our tools. There you go. So that is just one government department, and I'm sure they use Internet Explorer as a base for a lot of these apps which are made, because a lot of these apps were made ages ago and they just carried on, and they've used Internet Explorer for its backward compatibility. Obviously with tweaks a lot of these things can be resolved, but tweaks cost money, development costs, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, one good thing is I think virtualization is going to be built in very heavily into Windows 11, especially with these extra desktops which you can configure. So running a virtual machine inside of a Windows 11 box is going to be a lot easier to do. And obviously because you've got the TPM support in there, Trusted Platform Module, that is going to give you the security level you need to run those apps in a virtual machine without having issues with kind of software licensing issues, that kind of stuff. So potentially it could be right. Huckley Bob says Matt Hancock got caught using something naughty to test a young lady for COVID. Oh dear. Mark Berry says hands, face, space, lol. Yeah. That is going to haunt him for a long, long time. It really is. Skystalker says real food equals beer. No, we're just trying to eat less processed food. Now, one of the things we're eating a bit of cheese. Obviously that's processed, but that's processed because it has to be processed because it's milk. You process it to make it cheese. Just trying to be slightly healthier.
Trying to eat things without ingredients on the label.
Blake says, be careful with juicers, can get a lot of fruit calories very easily. I think that is, yeah, I think that's definitely a thing.
But it's better than biscuit calories.
Yeah, it could be chocolate biscuit calories, which is what it was. Very bad, which is what it essentially, yeah. I was living on chocolate biscuits, sweet tea, and ice creams. It's not a good life. I want to be healthier, so that's the way we're going. Mark Berry says juicing can be bad, especially for someone like me that's T2 diabetic. Aren't fruit sugars don't they work slightly differently now?
No.
Capsaicin, no. Okay, fair enough. Skystalker's being very diplomatic. He is Canadian after all, and says, I like both the old and the new music. Tristan G's with us says, hi Mike and Kath. Hot here in Seattle, 90 degrees Fahrenheit at the moment. Terry Kemp says, greetings from Exeter. We love Exeter. Exeter's a great place. If we don't move to America, Exeter might be on the cards. Live in a holiday caravan somewhere. That'd be awesome. Lee Smith says, hi all. Outlaw Fett's 199. Thank you, Outlaw Fett. Damn, I went too far. I didn't read that. I'm agreeing to 11, I think. How are you doing? I think it's going to be great. I really do. I've got... If you want to see some of Windows 11 already on your PC, even if you're running Windows 10, if you joined Windows Insider program, it's easy to do, it doesn't cost you anything. Click on the Start button, go to Settings. Actually, I'll show you. Which button is it? I always forget this. Windows Desktop. There we go. So, on your Start bar, and basically you can go into Windows Insider program, click on that, and then you can make yourself into an insider, and then choose the either dev or beta versions, and it's all good in the hood. So anyway, we should talk about Windows 11 a little bit and actually what the heck is going on. So if you haven't seen it already, this is the Microsoft site with Windows 11 introducing it, and that is basically what it looks like. Very Mac OS. A lot of people have been saying that actually, that it looks like Mac OS, and it does. But I don't see that as a bad thing. I actually see that as a good thing. Here's the Windows 11 video, which no doubt I'll get a copyright strike for. Maybe I won't. If that's the new loading screen, I'll be happy with that. Anyway, yeah, you get the general idea. We won't really look at that. So anyway, there is the start bar. That's what the new start bar looks like. You can, if you want to, you can shift it to the left. Sadly, at the moment, it seems that you can't actually move the taskbar to either the left-hand side, the top, or the right-hand side, which I know a lot of people do. So that is something which currently, as it stands, isn't a thing. I think that's possibly because of the fact that you're using this swipe in feature from the left-hand side for the widgets. So that might get confusing as in terms of kind of functionality of programming that feature. So yeah, it's center or to the left. I kind of like it. I think it looks nice. So you've got options for desktop snapping, for apps, etc. and desktops. New instant features. You've got the new kind of Skype type thing. Basically, Teams is going to be tied right into it as it was before. There is the sidebar. So conveniently, they've done that at 11:11 a.m. Excuse me. So yeah, for most people, if you're on an Android device or even an iOS device, if you swipe in from the left-hand side, that normally on most phones will bring up your kind of news feed. So it's kind of intuitive in regards that Windows is going to start behaving like most mobile devices. It is designed for touch, but it's also designed for a desktop, so we've got a bit of everything in there. Again, I like it. I think it looks great. They did make a big deal about Xbox being more baked in than it was before. I personally don't care less. It shows you there all the different devices. It doesn't show a Surface Pro 3 because that's what I've got and I can't upgrade to it, which sucks. And of course, if you want to find out if your PC will work, you can find out from their site, etc. with the compatibility tool. And here we should take a look at some of the minimum system requirements. Now, some of you have probably seen this already, so I do apologise. But it does say there, this is actually very, very misleading. Let me, is that the one? Number 5, yeah, there we go. Hi, I'm in the corner. Nobody puts baby in the corner.
Oh, baby Mike.
Baby Mike's in the corner. So it says there, processor, a 1 GHz or faster with 2 or more cores on a compatible 64-bit processor. So there's probably a lot of people out there thinking, awesome, I've got an older device, it's 1 gigs, it's dual core, great, I'll be able to use Windows 11. This is where it gets really odd. It says there, compatible 64-bit processor, which you can click on, you can go through, I've got it saved, so we'll take a look at that shortly. But the list of compatible processors is tiny. Well, if you look at what's out there on the market, it's a very, very small cross-section of processors on the market right now. As far as Intel processors are concerned, it's got some very, very unusual... I just don't get it. So the really, really old Intel Atom, the X5 Atom, which is a horrible chip, absolutely horrible chip, suitable for maybe net tops if you're lucky, for a operating system, for a smooth feel, it's awful. It's genuinely awful. But yet, an older processor like the 4650U Intel i7, which is a dual-core 4-thread processor, which turbos up to like 3.1 gigahertz, a very nippy processor, fantastic little processor for a lot of laptops, isn't supported. So there are certain elements of hardware which need to be actually on the processor. It doesn't appear to be TPM. The reason I'm saying this is because my Surface Pro 3, which I tried this today, won't upgrade to Windows 11. It's got TPM 2.0, it's got secure boot, it's got 8 gigs of RAM, plenty big hard drive, a dual core processor with 4 threads, but it won't do it because it's not a new enough processor. So there is some instruction set which also is a requirement, even if you've got TPM 1.2 or 2.0. So if you're kind of thinking, well, I've got some slightly older devices here and I would like to put Windows 11 on them, or maybe you're thinking, I've got Windows on older devices, what shall I do with them? My advice is sell them quickly before people realise that they're obsolete, essentially.
Fair enough. Right, there's two questions. Joe, can someone help me? I have an AMD A8 and when I go to BIOS I can't find the option to enable FTPM. And William Booty, how do I find out if I've got TPM2?
Right, we'll answer those questions about TPM shortly because we're going to go on to that when we get to here. So for those of you asking about TPM, we will be taking a look at that. So spec-wise again, 4 gigs of RAM, that's a good thing I think in my opinion. 64 gigs of storage or larger obviously. DirectX compatible doesn't appear to come into it at the moment. Maybe that is potentially why the older Intel stuff won't work, because the integrated IGP graphics, which I think on that one was like i5000, which probably isn't DirectX 12 compatible. That could be the reason. Be interesting to see if that is the case or not. 720p display, yeah, very easy. The big thing which a lot of people are going to be concerned about is the TPM module, or TPM 2.0, Trusted Platform, whatever you want to call it. If you're using an Intel system, then it will be called PTT, which is basically a protective technology type thing. So slightly different verbiage used, but essentially it's the same thing. That doesn't seem to be the be-all and end-all, but TPM, if you're not sure and you need it on your system, let's go back to that one. So TPM, first of all, generally if you're an AMD system, excuse me, it's going to be in your BIOS. So you need to go into the BIOS and go into probably security settings and then look for TPM or Trusted Platform, that kind of verbiage. That's the sort of things you're going to be looking for in security. Now, if you're running a Ryzen processor from the 2000 series or higher, then actually on the physical chip, there is firmware which is basically TPM compliant. So they bake TPM actually into the physical processor. If you're running a Ryzen Pro, that has also got it as well. So even if it's a slightly older one, if it's the Ryzen Pro, those have got it also. So if you've picked up one of those, maybe 3400G Pro from AliExpress or something, you're going to be absolutely fine. Even though it is a 2000 processor, it still has the FTPM in there. If you're on an older Ryzen, say a first edition or first series, 1000 series, 1600, 1700, that kind of thing, then you don't have it. You may have it in the BIOS, may be supported, but you haven't got it on chip. So you may find actually in the BIOS it'll be grayed out or just not there at all. Now for the person who asked about the older A8 processor, I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure that doesn't support it. It supports it in hardware, so you can actually go out and buy a TPM chip or TPM module, which will attach to your motherboard. Again, depending on what you've got, if you've got a laptop, then that's going to be a little bit more of a struggle. As far as I can see at the moment, they don't appear to have TPM USB modules. I haven't seen any PCI Express ones either. They seem to have to plug into a specific header on the motherboard, which we'll actually take a quick look at now. So for those of you that are not sure what a TPM actually looks like, where is it? What is a TPM? This is a good from UK PC Mag. Full kudos to them for this this section. So what is a TPM and why do I need one on Windows 11? So that is what a TPM header actually looks like. So you've got there the USB 2 header on the right hand side, and on the left hand side, just after the RGB connector there on that motherboard, there is that port called SPI_TPM. So TPM ports generally are all 11 pin devices. Now they do separate ones for ASUS, MSI, ASRock, etc, etc. So you may find some of the pinouts might be slightly different. Generally it comes down to the actual, that plastic surround around the outer pins. So do check with your motherboard, look in the owner's manual. If you haven't got owner's manual, you can download a PDF from the manufacturer's websites, etc, etc. So you can check the pinouts. Getting hold of a TPM module might be the difficult thing. Already we've seen scalping on TPM modules, which I actually said that on the live stream 2 days ago. I said, look, they're about £7, £8, sometimes £10 on Amazon if you're lucky. Currently, you can't buy one. They're out of stock, or they're charging the best part of £100 for a TPM module. So this is going to be the next part of the sculpt, I think. So we've had the sculpting on CPUs, we've had the sculpting on GPUs, next is going to be TPM adapters, which is completely unnecessary for a large percentage of people, unless you're a business and you're looking after a load of PCs, you work in an IT department, and you're thinking, oh crap, I've just rolled out 100 PCs, all of which don't have TPM 2.0. They're going to ask for Windows 11 as soon as it's out. I'm going to need to get some TPM devices. It's a slightly unrealistic situation because probably it's going to be a modern system anyway, possibly with a 8th gen Intel or 2000 series or above AMD. It's quite likely. Just to be completely clear, if you've got an Intel 8th gen or above, then you've got TPM 1.2, which is baked into the processor. TPM 1.2 is a lesser standard and not particularly secure, but because of the way TPM works, it is kind of backwards compatible. So although they were saying it should be TPM 2.0, you can get away with TPM 1.2, just to make things even more confusing. So if you can't find a TPM 2.0 port, you might find you can get a TPM 1.2, which probably will be serviceable. But yeah, anyway. So that is what a TPM port looks like. And they talk about why it's needed, what is it. Essentially, it is a kind of like a security key. So when you log into Windows, when you type in your PIN code can be tied to the TPM chip. So the TPM chip will hold a huge long string of data which kind of validates or verifies your input. So if you've got a TPM chip for your sign-in, like with Windows Hello, that sort of thing, then whenever you sign in with either your face, your fingerprint, or PIN code or password, it then sends that to the TPM chip. The TPM chip then unlocks the operating system. So your PIN isn't actually unlocking the operating system, the TPM chip is doing it for you after it's validated the input from you, either your face, etc, etc. Also, if you're using something like BitLocker or encrypted storage, then the encrypted storage actually needs that chip. So if you've got a TPM module on your system and you've got an encrypted hard drive, if you take that hard drive out and try and put it into another system, you cannot gain access to it if it's been encrypted because it needs that TPM module. So potentially you could take the TPM module out of your PC, put it into your new PC, and it would carry across all of the keys that you've built through the process of using the system and transfer over. If you look into most motherboards in the TPM section, there are an option for uploading keys or downloading keys or even clearing security keys. So that is basically how it works. If you've enabled BitLocker on your drive, for instance, and then you erase your TPM key, there's a strong chance you might not be able to get back into that drive. So I think for a kind of end user point of view, it's not that important, but for a support level thing, this is potentially going to be an absolute nightmare. I haven't yet come across anybody who's managed to kill their TPM or come to me with an encrypted drive that I couldn't get into, but I think after fall this year, or autumn, winter, whenever this comes out in its kind of final state, I think come Christmas and when people start doing new builds in January, February with their transferring their old hard drives into new systems and not being able to transfer over the TPM keys, not looking forward to that at all. Yes, Kath?
Could there be an EFI secure and TMP to PCIe solution for old machines to run Windows 11?
That is something I was about to come on to. Potentially,
CV Hawkeye.
there's no reason why there shouldn't be. Because of the way that PCI Express works, it is directly talking to the processor, and the processor obviously through the PCI Express bus talks to the hard drive. So yes, that is definitely a possibility. I would imagine, I've not looked into it hugely, but I've not seen one. I did a quick search earlier, even went to the usuals like AliExpress, and I couldn't find a TMP 2.0 device on PCI Express. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist or it won't come out in the very near future. Because this has only just been released now and announced now, I think there's going to be a slight delay, but I would put money on it that there'll be either USB or PCI Express TPM slots in the near future. I'd be amazed if there wasn't.
Is this going to stop cheap activation keys from working?
No. it won't stop cheap activation keys from working because the activation process works on a different level altogether. So your license key, the way it's activated, is done via Microsoft's activation servers. The TPM module doesn't talk to Microsoft at all in terms of online. It's purely an offline device. So this works on a hardware level between the operating system and the user inputs, password, webcam, that kind of stuff is localized. You probably could register TPM keys in there for certain websites, I would imagine, but they would be kind of piggybacking on the back of one of those other technologies like Windows Hello, pin activation, password, etc. You will need a combination of those basically for it to work. It's one of those things that they've been trying to get into the mainstream for a long time, and everyone's kind of held off, and it's only been certain kind of government agencies which have used it. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. They did mention on there as well Apple's guide to the T2 chip. So Apple have kind of had a very similar thing already. So if you have a Mac, a new Mac, and you try and take the hard drive out and put it into another machine, it don't work because of the T2 chip. So that is where that kind of comes from. It is essentially TPM. So it's kind of weird that the operating system is starting to look very slightly like macOS, and they're starting to add features very much like macOS. Now, whether that's down to essentially what comes down to a dick swinging competition, see who's got the better security, or whether or not it's just the fact that businesses are starting to ask for it. They're saying, well, this Mac's more secure, so I'm going to buy a Mac. Maybe that does come into it a little bit, I don't know. Part of it, I think, personally... Sorry, Kath, can you close that window? Part of it, I think, personally, is down to the fact that the new Microsoft Windows Store... Sorry, let's go back to there. There we go. So the new Microsoft Store, love it or hate it, it's coming back in a big way. So the Microsoft Store is going to be selling for other companies as well, so they can have a marketplace on the Microsoft Store. Already Adobe are fully invested in it, so they're going to be into it. I would imagine people like Steam, obviously Android, the Play Store. I'm pretty sure the Play Store is going to be integrated within Windows. I'm almost 100% sure. There does seem to be a big level of Android support. They have mentioned that we can now run Android APKs and apps on Windows 11, so for some people that's going to be brilliant. Personally, for me, I don't really use many apps. I did say before, things like the YouTube Studio, that's going to be very handy because that works really well on mobile, nice and easy to answer questions, etc. There's probably one or two others which would be useful, maybe Wi-Fi Analyzer, that kind of stuff. So we are going to be able to sideload apps as well, so you can just download an APK and sideload it. My opinion is that the TPM chip is going to be a means of kind of having an extra level of security on making purchases on the Microsoft Store. That, I think, probably makes sense, especially if you're... For Microsoft, they're selling their own stuff on the store right now. So if something goes wrong or a transaction doesn't go as intended, it's only themselves they're paying, maybe a couple of developers, that kind of thing. If they integrate other people's stores within it, such as the Play Store, Adobe, that kind of stuff, if an Adobe transfer, if you buy something through the store and something goes wrong with the transaction, Microsoft are then going to be liable to have to pay Adobe. Or alternatively, your Adobe software won't work. So having the TPM chip in there is going to be another means of storing those encrypted keys to say, yes, this piece of software is validated to work on this particular machine, which has always been a problem. If you're a regular user of Adobe software or even Office software, there's a certain amount of machines you can install software on. TPM will effectively count, well, not count, it will probably reduce piracy a little bit. If they start incorporating the fact that software needs to be kind of talking to the TPM chip to actually run locally on a machine, definitely for those people that have maybe bought one app and then installed it on like 5 or 6 machines at home, that is the sort of thing that they may start clamping down on, or at least they will allow it to happen more so. So if you're doing like friends and family sharing, because of the TPM modules, it'll say, yes, that's fine. You can share with this, you can share with that, without having to do all these crazy logins or sort of, what's it, two-step activation or two-step verification, that kind of stuff. So potentially it could work in that way as well. So TPM, I think, is something which is probably long overdue and probably worth actually having. It's just, my concern is people that have got slightly older machines that don't have TPM kind of missing out. Understandably. I guess it's like having an older car. If you've got an older car when the emissions are too high, or the ABS doesn't work, or it hasn't got a catalytic converter, then yeah, you can't use it. It's pretty much the same thing. You can then modify it or buy a new car, and then you can use it. There are rules and regulations which we have to adhere to, unfortunately. Yeah.
Faceless when asked if you've been reviewing fake tan lately.
Have I been reviewing fake tan? No, this is au natural, sadly.
Sadly.
So yeah, that's where we are with TPM. There was something else actually I was going to look at regarding that. Oh, that's right. Quick look on Amazon. Is that going to show? Oh, no, I probably don't want to show that. Let's sign out. Sign out. Okay. Sorry about this, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, let's have some cookies. So, where are we? Number 3, there we go. So this is on Amazon. This is the MSI TPM module. And as you can see, that's what it looks like. Temporarily out of stock already. So that is what it looks like. Just basically slots onto the motherboard. And that is to work with certain Xeon chips. But yeah, see it. If you look for TPM modules, there aren't a great deal about. TPM module. So yeah, easiest one. There's one for super micro boards. £115. They've only got 4 left in stock. Like temporary out of stock, 4 left in stock, 1 left in stock. Then it goes into motherboards, which I've got no use for. So there's a TPM for for Compros, for Acer Travel Mates, but there's not many available. Not a great deal in stock. So, thank you for the super chat to. Oh, hang on a mo. Who was that? Can't see. 5. Oh, there we go. Digital Demonic Davros. Oh, I missed that name. Thank you for the £5 super chat. It says Windows 11 thinks my R5 3600 RX 57XT 32GB RAM is not compatible. It's probably down to not having the secure boot or TPM turned on. Although saying that, there are. Oh, wrong one, wrong camera. There are a lot of people that are saying that even though the system is 100% compatible, that the checker tool is saying that it isn't. So at the moment, I wouldn't be too disheartened if it turns around and says that your PC isn't compatible. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a little bit of pressure put onto Microsoft regarding this to probably loosen what is and what isn't actually available to use. And there is one way around it as well. If you've got Windows 10, if you join the Insider programs, and I'll keep on harping about, but if you join the Windows Insider program, if you choose the dev release or the beta, the dev and the beta don't have the same restrictions. So if you install the development version, it basically doesn't look at your PC at all and just says, yeah, okay, fine, let's just install this. So if you install the dev version, and then maybe in a few months' time when it actually does come out and it's a full retail, you could then go and get yourself a cheap Windows 10 key from somewhere like, I don't know, premiumcdkeys.com/Mike's Unboxing, and get your Mike's Unboxing discount code. But you could then put in your license key, just activate it as a full copy. And because it's actually installed, that gets past the prevention of it being installed due to the system not meeting the requirements. So potentially that is a way around it. Install the dev version, keep using that until the full version is actually released and available via Windows Update. Then you can turn off the Windows Insider, go back to being a normal Windows user, and keep Windows 11 running on your system. Windows in themselves, or Microsoft themselves rather, or the Windows group, have actually said that anyone who's using the dev version of Windows 11, regardless of their hardware requirements, they will still be able to keep Windows 11 as a thank you for being part of the development community. So potentially that is a way around it, which might be useful to some. So let's have a look at some more of your questions and comments there. So Eric Gooden says, an 8-core i7 will not work for Windows 11. So stupid, what is Microsoft doing? Yeah, if you've got an older processor, maybe the i7 2700X, or 2700K.
Eric says not my core i7.
It's great.
So.
Yeah, all those sorts of older processors, which are absolutely fine. It's a real shame that they've been kind of made... They have been kind of made obsolete by it. They really have, unless there's some way around it, which for the physical processors, I don't think there's going to be, without Microsoft reducing or relaxing the requirements. Maybe they will. Actually, that was something that I wanted to show you guys. That was the processor the supported processors. And where is it? Windows Insiders. Supported processors. So the list of supported processors. Now this is from docs.microsoft.com/Windows hardware, blah, 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 blah. I'll try and put some links for this in the video description later on so you can check it out for yourselves. But there is the Windows 11 supported processors. Let me enlarge that so you can see it a little bit easier. So there we've got the Intel Atom. So there's the X6 range, which are not particularly decent processors. There's a Celeron G4900. The G series Celeron processors aren't great, we know this. The J4005, which is an embedded processor, which is basically in a NAS processor, and they're letting that go. The N4000 is an awful chip, absolutely horrendous. And you've got some of these older Celerons, which, again, absolutely horrendous chips. N4500, again, god-awful chip. Fine for running sort of Android applications, maybe some emulation, stuff like that, but...
Update the checker to latest version.
Update what, sorry?
The checker to latest version. It might not be for you.
Ah, right, okay. So iCore processors there. So we've got some 8000s, which appears to be the kind of oldest processor. i3 8100. Those all seem to be fine. Going up through that range. So you've got the mobile processors there, the i5, the ones with the U on the end, and also the H. That's the high performance ones. The U are kind of like the low power ones. So you've got all these processors, which I'm wondering now if it is down to DirectX compatibility with those older integrated sort of 4th gen, 5th gen, 6th gen, 7th gen processors. Yeah, imagine that, a 7700K, which is a fantastic processor still. Imagine that not being able to run Windows 11. It just seems like insanity. So you've got 9th gen there, obviously. Keeps on going through. Blah, 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 blah. 10th gen. And obviously 11th gen isn't going to be a problem. Sorry, scrolling through this very quickly, but yeah, you get the general idea. So, like this Intel Core i3 L31G4. 13G4. Some of those are really bad chips, not particularly fast at all. Some of those older Atom chips as well. Like Pentium Gold 4425Y. Why on earth would you have that, but not have something like a 7700K? Makes no sense at all. So yeah, Intel Golds, there's the Xeons, etc. And it's even actually, those are quite old, some of those Xeons. Come on. Not sure if actually the AMD chips are on this one. A lot of Xeons. Alright. So that is the Intel ones. Scrolling. Design. So why have they not put...
Read the PDF page better.
Yeah, I probably should do. What the hell? I give up. Was there a PDF page? Where are we? Documents. Windows. Windows Insider Program. Oh, where did I find it? No, I give up. It's not that interesting. I don't think
Would it
it's...
be worthwhile turning TPM on now in the BIOS?
Well, it won't do any harm. Turning TPM on whilst... if you're using your system as normal, then there's no reason why you shouldn't do. It won't have any negative effects. If anything, it might make the upgrade process quicker. So if your system is compatible, it will look at the TPM status of your motherboard. So if there's a Windows update and Windows 11 is available, you'll get pushed it that much quicker because obviously your system is going to be compatible. So there's definitely that to consider. I don't know. I really don't know. There shouldn't be this much crap. There really shouldn't.
Link here.
Oh, thanks, Bob.
Go on, Bob.
Ricardo says, for sale, Asus TUF H470 Mobo with Core i5 10400 chip, TPM included. Nice one. Skystalker says, show the... Okay, let's do that. So, Ugly Bob. AMD, let's drag that over onto my desktop. Thank you, Bob. So, oh, which one is it? 3. I always forget. So here is the Windows 11 supported AMD processors. So again, actually, it's a really mixed bag. They've got some really old crap. Some Athlon golds, Athlon silvers. The 34... How can the 3000G be supported and not the the i7s and stuff, the 7700K? That just blows my mind, it really does. So let's see, what have I got? I've got a 3000G tick. The next one on the list from me is going to be the 2200G, which is currently in my media center PC in the front room. And I've got a 3400G as well somewhere.
Fell off my desk.
So, where are we? Actually, 3400G, there we go. He's good. So the 2200G won't be supported, will it? Because that runs on the first gen. Yeah, 2200G isn't going to do it. Damn it. Oh no, my 2200G is useless. I have to burn it with fire.
I unbent the pins on.
Yeah. No, that's the 3000G. So, as expected, actually, let's slow it down there. So, Ryzen 5s and 3s, which I guess most of you guys are going to be more concerned with. So, the 3100, I've got one of those as well. Tick, that works. 3300. So yeah, 3500. Oh, actually, my laptop, that's a 3300. No, 30. Yeah, I think it's a 3500U. So my laptop's going to do it. My 3600 in the PC behind me. So yep, that's all good. Well, we know that works because I've installed it already. So Ryzen 5 4650s, etc. That's going to be fine. Ryzen 5 5600, obviously we expect that to work. 3400G as we said. The Ryzen 5 Pro 2600 and the Ryzen 5 Pro 3600. So I haven't seen any 2000 series on here yet. Oh, actually, yeah, Ryzen 7 2700, there we go. 2700X, so George will be okay. Looks like Calf's the odd one out at the moment.
I don't want it updated anyway.
Ah.
Middle finger.
Middle finger to the upgrade, eh, Calf?
Yep.
There's mine, 3900X, so I'm all good.
Don't update my phone, so I won't update my computer either.
Threadrippers, we haven't got any of those. So there we go, there is the AMD list. So none of the A8 or A10 models listed. Those would have been towards the beginning of the Athlon range. So Charged 1X says, what about the 1600F? Nope, 1600F is part of the original series and doesn't appear to be on there. Although the 1600, did we see the 2600 on there? I don't think we did we? Did we see a 26? Yeah, we did. There's a 23. Yeah, 2600. So if you're running a 1600 AF, you should be okay because that is effectively a Ryzen 5 2600. Although, specifically, I don't know if that is going to be the deal or not.
Starting from January the 1st, 2023, all device types except desktop PC are required to have forward-facing camera which meets the following requirements.
Wow.
A rear-facing camera is optional.
So Sea of Chaos has just said there in the chat, starting from the 1st of January 2023, all device types except desktop PC are required to have forward-facing camera which meets the following requirements. Rear-facing camera is optional.
So
wow.
Can you put tape over the...
Dutch Jan says no FX listed. No, sadly AM3 is not going to be a thing. And think of how many AM3 systems there are out there on the market. Oh, wrong button. Think of how many, yeah, AM3, AM3 Plus systems. There's tons of FX systems out there still, out in the wild, which are still running. So, yeah, not good.
Sea of Chaos said it in PDF.
Ah, right, okay. Thank you. Oh, that's us talking about food, damn it. So, Eric Goodin says, my TPM module for my Gigabyte is 20 pin. I don't know if any of the 20 pin will work. Yeah, some boards do have slightly different modules, so mostly they all tend to be 11 pin. I think the Asus one is 11 pin, the MSI one is 11 pin, and I'm pretty sure the ASRock one is as well. Gigabyte do like to do things a little bit differently, especially when it comes to RGB. Damir says the 600AF is Ryzen 1000 series, equals not supported. Yeah, I don't know about that, Damir, because the 1600F was basically a cut down 2600 to meet market demand. There's a very strong chance it will, because it's effectively it's a 2600 in terms of the cores, etc. It's just down clocked. So I think the 600AF should be okay. XYT says I didn't see the 5600G or the 5700G listed, but doesn't mean anything. No, I think they'll be absolutely fine. I think it's probably just because they've maybe they're a little bit behind the times on updating their list. Fact Service Feeling says we managed to get Microsoft not to go through with what it wanted to in regards to the Xbox One. We should scream a lot here and make them not go through with this. TPM bullcrap. Not a bad idea. It'd be interesting to see what happens in the next few days as the media machine gathers pace. Obviously, the announcement was on a Thursday, so normally if you're a company or a business, you'll tend to let things go out to the press that are negative or going to be difficult to deal with later in the week, because then you've got the weekend for people to calm down, go home, not work, etc., stay away from their computers, and then come the next week it's almost forgotten. Whereas if you're releasing something which is awesome and you want people to talk about it, you'd normally do that on a Monday or Tuesday. So it kind of lasts the whole news cycle through the week. Now obviously Windows 11 is a massive deal. We're looking at sort of 80% of the entire PC user base is on Windows, so it's kind of a big deal. So it is going to be popular in the news. There's going to be hundreds of thousands of YouTube videos on it, literally. The ones I did earlier in the week, 2 of the most popular videos we've done in a long time, by a huge margin. Like normally a video in 24 hours will get maybe a 500, 700 views. Both of them got the best part of kind of like 3,000 or more. So there's definitely a big interest in Windows 11, and people are kind of, I guess people are excited. It's something new, it's something fresh, and it's something which effectively doesn't cost anything. So it's not like you have to spend money to buy a new graphics card or to get some new RAM. Maybe a new motherboard, yeah.
Or a TPM,
But then people weren't expecting that, were they? That is the thing. People weren't expected that there was going to be that draconian TPM thing chucked in there, which is kind of what it is. CV Hawkeye says, will a DirectX 11 only GPU stop you from a Windows 11 installation? No. As long as the driver for the graphics card supports DirectX 12 in software, it's absolutely fine. So most DirectX 9 compatible cards, which is a massive amount of them on the market, they will support DirectX 12 in software, so they should be absolutely fine. Factor of Feeling says, I'm more worried that I won't be able to reuse hardware if I want to build another PC in the future. Well, you'll always have the ability to go back to Windows 10, obviously until 2025, which then it's going to be obsolete. So it's all happening again. Is Windows 7 PCs were still being sold way past the expiry date, and they probably still are now. Charged X1 says, I don't even understand why we need TPM. Well, again, I think it's down to what I said, because we've got that integrated thing in the Microsoft Store. You've got the BitLocker, the drive encryption, all those kinds of things, and the fact that Apple have pushed it on the T2 chip for the Mac. I think it's just one of those things where the industry is starting to follow suit. Very much like fingerprint readers and face recognition on your iPhone or your Android. Pretty much every phone these days has got fingerprint recognition or face recognition. All part of the same thing, really. Matthew Barton, that's an interesting question actually. What do you think is the biggest plus point of Windows 11? I don't think there's one single thing which stands out as being amazing and awesome. There's lots of little things which, for me, make it quite compelling. So the first one is going to be the user interface. I like the user interface. I like the rounded edges. Chrome, if you open up Chrome, you'll find that the tabs on your Chrome already have got those rounded edges in version 91, I think it is, and they've been doing that for quite a while now. Windows 7 obviously looks really nice, and people fondly remember it, that nice kind of aero glass. Even Windows Vista had those kind of rounded aero glass edges. It just looks softer, it looks nicer. They've made it nice now so that the icons aren't as complicated, so we've got relatively basic but strong design language in the icons, but we've got that nicely rounded edges of Windows. So you've got the harshness of the icons, which is softened by the roundness of the windows, if that makes sense, and kind of like the taskbar and all those kinds of things. Which I think is probably the way to go. Design language is changing all the time. If you look at older operating systems now, they do look a bit weird. And then looking at older systems with a modern eye does change perception. Even going from actually Windows 11 and then using Windows 10, Windows 10 feels a little bit on the dated side, which is bizarre. Other things as well, the direct store or direct storage. So games are going to load faster because they're going to have direct access to the NVMe drives. So games are going to load quicker, which is brilliant. So for those of you that play a lot of games, online games, and you get lag when you go in between certain parts of the map where it's not loaded, that's going to be essentially a thing of the past. Loading screens are pretty much going to be a thing of the past. It's generally going to be a nicer, faster experience in theory. So that should pave the way for PCI Express Gen 4 times 16 slots to become more fully optimized. So pushing tons and tons of data through the bus into the graphics card and making use of the power that we've got there for even more kind of photorealistic games or larger, more realistic, possibly ray-traced environments, which is going to be nice. You've got the security aspects. Obviously TPM does bring security aspects with it, so things like PC hijacking, that sort of stuff, is going to be slightly more difficult to do. Theft of a PC is probably going to be slightly more limited, because much like a Mac device, if you nick a Mac device, you can't use it because you can't sign into it, so it's pointless. So for mobile devices, you kind of got a little bit of security in terms of the TPM support, so people can't use your computer. It seems slightly faster in general use, so there's that as an uptick. Probably getting rid of the old legacy Internet Explorer. That is going to add another level of security to the system, because that's always been kind of the Achilles heel of Windows. Internet Explorer has always been one of those buggy, horrible things which has had hack after hack after hack. Every Windows update Tuesday, first of the Tuesday of the month, there was always patches for patching Internet Explorer. And now that Edge has taken over from that, I for one, glad to see the back of it. So I think that's pretty much most of the positives. The only negative I would say is the TPM thing. What's that, Cav?
I thought you'd read my comment from your face.
No, I haven't read your comment. What's that?
Stuart said it's a long time since he's seen you have a beer.
It is true, actually.
And I said you're not drinking until your jeans fit.
Eric Godin says, well, my motherboard is UEFI, but no secure boot, and Windows 11 require that also. Yes, it requires UEFI for the motherboard and obviously the graphics card as well. It's also going to support, or you're going to need to support TPM and secure boot. CV Hawkeye says Windows 11 is free, but you need a new PC. Sea of Chaos says, Dutch Jan, I would honestly love Linux to become the better choice, but so far it's not ready. No, that is the thing. It is Linux, for all its kind of ups and downs, despite how many different versions of it there is on the market, it still really doesn't come close to the overall ease of use of Windows. If it was easier to use, more people would use it. There's a lot of people out there probably stamping up and down on the keyboards already saying, yeah, but Linux is so easy to use. It isn't. Is the honest answer. If it was easier to use, the fact it's free and user customizable, people would use it. Businesses would definitely use it because it's cheaper. But Linux, albeit it's inherently more stable, it's also pretty insecure. And because it's never really been a massive target, people haven't gone looking for that many holes in it. Whereas Windows is so popular, if they can find a hole, there's tons and tons of a market base they can hack into, potentially take money from. Whereas with Linux users, as a home user, arguably if you're a Linux user, there's a reason for it. And it's either because you're kind of security conscious possibly, or you just can't afford Windows. In which case, it's not really much point trying to get access to your machine, because if you're using Linux because of security concerns, there's a strong chance you're not using a credit card to buy anything online or make any transactions. So yeah, Linux is pointless trying to hack. It really is. Linux servers, then that's a different matter because of all the data that goes through it. But Linux PCs, I would imagine I would be amazed if there's 5 people in the current group of people watching at the moment. There's nearly 100 of you watching currently. So 5%. Is there 5% of you actually using Linux at the moment as your main PC? I would say probably not. And the fact that you're actually watching this on a Windows 11 based stream, I think that makes it even less likely. I could be completely wrong. Please do prove me wrong. Ferran Elite says easy isn't always better. No, I'm not saying it is, but people just want to get onto their machine and use it. I've installed Linux in various different guises, and I consider myself to be relatively PC literate. I kind of understand how things work, how stuff goes together, why things do certain things they do. And I'll be honest with you, I can't use Linux. I've tried, and I just cannot get on with it. Unless I put a skin on it, which makes it like Windows, and even then it's like, right, so you want to install something? Yeah. How do I do that? There's a billion different ways of installing things, from command lines or clicking on things, and it's just it's a mess. Linux is a mess. It's so open, and there's so many different versions and so many different guises of it. By the time you actually get used to one and then try another, it's like, well, okay. There used to be an old saying years ago that there's more distributions of Linux than there are users. And it kind of is that way. At least with Microsoft, you're using Windows 10, maybe Windows 8, 7 possibly, but it all kind of is reasonably coherent. 8 is probably an outlier in that. But if you've used Windows 7 or even if you use Windows 95, there's a strong chance if you're frozen in time like Buck Rogers and you're awoken in 2021 and someone stuck you in front of a Windows 10 machine after going on a Windows 95 machine, there's a very, very strong chance you could just pick it up and go, oh, okay, it looks a bit different, but yeah, I get the general idea. Whereas with Linux, you get in front of it, it's like, okay, so I've got icons and I've got a desktop. How do I use it? And it just isn't that user-friendly interface. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm slightly biased because I'm a Windows user and obviously a YouTube channel that dedicates itself mostly to Windows devices. But I think there's a good reason for that, because the amount of user base that use Windows, again, there's got to be a reason for it. And it's not because we like paying lots of money to Microsoft every couple of years for a new PC or for a new operating system or for Office 365, all the other stuff that comes along with it. Why is Windows so popular? And there's probably people that say, oh, it's because Microsoft have bought this and they've bought that and done that. It's like, well, Linux could do that if they wanted to. There's no reason why they couldn't. They could grab that market share. But for some reason, they've chosen not to. Or they've gone in a direction where they don't particularly care about it because they can sell server licenses, which is what the bread and butter is. I don't know. Sea of Chaos says it's all about gaming. If Linux had better gaming, it would win a lot of market ground. I think actually that is a fair comment. But saying that, if Linux had better gaming support, it would effectively make it into a console. Because, again, it hasn't got that familiarity. Maybe it would do in time if gaming became a thing on it and became more mainstream. People would get used to it. Much like, I guess, when the Nintendo Wii came out, where you had a lot of people, especially kind of middle-aged and elderly people, who'd never used a console before, possibly in their entire lives. Maybe they've seen Little Johnny or whatever playing on it in the front room on their TV when they've been trying to watch Catchphrase, but they've never used one before. But with the Wii, you could pick up the remote, the Wiimote, wasn't it? You could pick up a Wiimote, and within a very short time, you could be playing games and doing stuff and interacting with it. So they really did pick up on something there, which was the whole user interface. If your user interface works, and it's just kind of not idiot-proof, but it makes sense, then you'll sell by the bucket load. Even if you haven't got cutting-edge hardware. Look at the hardware that was in the Wii. It was massively, massively underpowered compared with the Xbox 360 and also the PlayStation 3, which was out at the time. But the Wii sold truckloads more because of the user interface. It was more friendly to everybody. It wasn't aimed at solely first-person shoot-'em-up gamers or that kind of thing, FIFA players. It was designed to be picked up and enjoyed and used by absolutely anybody, regardless of age, regardless of skill level. And that is effectively what Windows is kind of like. If you don't know how to do anything, it isn't that difficult to work out what's going on. You only got to type it in. Now, most of us who've had Windows for a long time, probably you're like, well, I don't want to, but seriously, anything you want to do, type it in the search bar. You will find it. You probably won't find your own files, but to actually find out how Windows works, just type it in the search bar. It's all there. Type in activation, it's there. Type in add or remove a program, it takes you to the link. Everything you need is there. File Explorer, type it, it just appears. That is why...
Lazy then, is it?
Sorry?
Not always good to be lazy.
No, it isn't good to be lazy, and it's always good to learn things and to push your boundaries. But these days, life moves pretty bloody fast, and if you don't get on...
Will it make Darren a coffee?
It possibly will make... Let's see, let me try it. Make Darren a coffee. Make
All capitals, Darren.
coffee. It says make a coffee in your head. Make a coffee for your head song. Yeah, so, alright, that isn't a Windows thing, making a coffee, clearly. Make a backup. How to create a backup. Takes you straight to it. Click on apps, make a backup. That is how easy it is. You try doing that in Linux. Try finding the search box. I am a strong Windows advocate, but because it's easy, it is easy. It saves time. Although saying that, Microsoft Office sucks. Even something stupid like sending a read receipt or a read request. How difficult is that now? It used to be just a tick box on the main screen. Now you've got to drill down through all these menus. Assholes. Why did they change it? They didn't need to. Anyway, this, I've probably gone on way too long on that, so let's see what you guys are saying. Will it make me copy? No. Windows for normies, Linux for PC enthusiasts. I don't think it's so much for PC enthusiasts. I think it's just Linux, in my opinion. Now, this is just my opinion, and you can agree with it or not. I don't care. It's my opinion. That is whole part of the freedom of speech thing. You can have an opinion, and yeah, it is what it is. To me, Linux is very much like Peugeot and Citroën in the car market space. If you're buying a Citroën or a Peugeot, you kind of know where you're headed. Same Fiat as well. It's all part of that same kind of thing. If you're buying one of those cars, there's a kind of person that buys those cars. They're people that don't follow trends. They're maybe slightly quirky individuals, possibly even wearing sandals, which actually makes it a fantastic correlation to Linux. There was an old thing years ago for Linux developers in sandals, but anyway, I digress. But that is what Linux is. Linux is for the people that don't want to do things like everybody else.
If the user is just watching online video or multimedia and webmail and classic programs for photos and videos, Linux is more than enough.
Oh yeah, Linux is enough. It's definitely enough. If you've got the time to learn it. Now, I would say the same applies to macOS. macOS is, I would say, probably somewhere in between. So Windows is probably the easiest to use if you're a relatively powerful user and you do a bit of everything. With macOS, it's kind of still there. The file management is a little bit quirky, but you've still got the Finder bar, so you can type in anything and essentially you can find out how to do most things. Linux is kind of further down that spectrum. So you've got kind of the mainstream Windows people. Those are your kind of, your Mercedes, your BMW, your Fords, Vauxhall, that kind of stuff. So your mainstream brands. Then you've got your Mac people who are kind of those slightly more quirky brands or slightly more artisan brands. And then Linux is basically Peugeot and Citroën. So you kind of, you know what to expect. You haven't paid a lot for it, but if you get in, you can turn the key, the engine probably will start and you can probably go to where you need to go. It may not be the best drive and it may not be the most comfortable drive, and you might even find that the speedo stops working as you're going, but essentially you'll be able to travel from A to B. that is what, in my opinion, Linux is all about.
Matthew
I'm going to get slated for that.
Matthew Langtree disagrees. Otherwise, Windows would be on phones and not Android.
Windows, I think with Windows 11, I think Windows will make a comeback. I genuinely think it does. Although saying that, Windows on mobile,
Chucking it down the toilet again.
Windows on mobile was great. For anybody who actually had Windows 10 on mobile, it was absolutely brilliant. But mobile phone sales are driven by apps. And that is what let the App Store down. Because they didn't have the growth in the App Store. Because everybody, all the developers were concentrating on iOS, obviously, and concentrating on Android. Because those were the two big players. Quite a few companies did make it across, and things like the Facebook app on Windows 10 mobile was brilliant. It was actually better than the other two put together. And I actually used Windows Mobile for a really long time. And I didn't want to go back to Android, but as we saw the kind of writing was on the wall, it was kind of like, well, okay, gonna have to make the switch sooner or later. But Windows phone devices, for me personally, I thought they were fantastic. A really easy to use operating system, fast, snappy, did what it needed to do, and it looked cool as hell. And it synchronized perfectly with Windows.
And mine made my bum look really small.
And Kath had a massive Lumia 640 XL, which made her ass look particularly small, because it was huge. Stuart Cleary's €10 and says, great info and advice, Mike, thanks. No worries, Stuart, thank you very much for that.
Does my ass look small in this phone?
Yeah. Android is Linux. It is based around a Linux kind of kernel and all that stuff. So yeah, Android is super popular. But again, the reason why Android is so popular against probably iOS is the devices are cheaper. So look at the countries where Android is on top. You're looking at India, obviously, China, and probably some areas of Europe, not a massive amount. Generally, if you go to America, United Kingdom, Australia, probably, trying to think of the other country, I did look at it not long ago, but in some of those countries, Apple was out on top by quite a margin. And again, it's down to the individual thing. You've got, obviously, wealth comes into it. Slightly more wealthy countries will inherently use more expensive devices, such as your iOS. That is it. Countries' economies and individual wealth is what leads it. So a lot of people will stick with Android purely because they can't afford the latest iPhone. There's a thing. It definitely is. I'll admit that. There has been times where I've been using an Android device or even a Windows device, and I've looked at iPhones and thought, I am envious of that device. I want to use that iPhone, but I can't afford it. So I will use an Android. And that is where Android wins its market share, because there's devices out on the market now which you can pick up for like $39.99 for a brand new phone in a box. How can you compete with that? You can't. And when there's every single like factory in China pumping these things out left, right and centre, clearly they're going to have a massive market share. It's like, that is why you don't see Ferraris in everybody's driveway. People that can afford Ferraris drive a Ferrari. Everybody else drives what they can afford. So Ferrari doesn't have a huge market share because not everyone can afford it. And it's the same with Apple devices. And, sorry, Kath?
Did you do the last super chat?
Yes, I did, yes. That was Stuart, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you, Ricardo, for your 10,000 COPs. I always forget what that is. Do you know what it is?
Is it?
No, that's not Coronas. I can't remember what it is. Thank you very much. Dr. Hex UK says, I wouldn't have an Apple device given. It's fine. That's something you don't have to. That's the whole point about choice. I'd be really interested to know why you wouldn't have an Apple device. Is that a psychological reason, or is that a philosophical reason? I'm genuinely interested to know. I've used all of them. I've used Windows 10, I've used Android in various guises, I've used iOS in various guises, and my daily driver is an Apple phone.
Glenn's going.
Thanks, Glenn. Thanks for stopping by.
Colombian.
Oh, Colombian pesos. Mark Berry, Android all the way. I think I liked when I had an iPhone was an iPod function.
BBC Well stuff when Windows 11 comes out and you can install Android apps, Kodi on all those TV apps.
Ooh, yeah.
Don't watch TV.
William Bodie says, Apple is in no way the same as Ferrari. Okay, maybe that wasn't such a... No, because actually I would say in terms of market share, Apple would have a much larger market share globally than Ferrari would in the same market. So Apple are probably more... Apple or Tesla. Maybe Tesla and a couple of other premium car companies. But they are definitely a premium brand.
Apple basically say that even though you bought the device, you can't do anything Apple hasn't approved. Agreed, but
Yeah,
fair.
yeah. Apple have locked down their system, saying, yeah, you've bought the device, you can't do anything Apple hasn't approved. But realistically, what is there on an Apple device that you'd want to do that you can't? That's been my argument for a long time. Apart from pirated software or games. Back in the day, the main reason why people were backdooring Apple devices, what they called it? I can't remember what they even called it now. Jailbreak. The only reason you jailbreak an Apple phone years ago would be to get downloaded ROMs and maybe to put TomTom, a copy of TomTom on your device without paying for it. Most people are quite happy with... The App Store's got tons of apps. There is an app for everything. So Apple, yes, they have locked down their device. I would love to see a micro SD card slot on there, although saying that, I've got a 64 gig phone and I've still only used like 32 gigs. So I don't need any more storage. It does everything I need to. It's fast, it's snappy, it's secure as well.
They're quite old now.
And that's the iPhone XR. It's quite an old phone now. But it's lasted as well. That's probably one of the longest lasting phones I've had. The Android phones have always either packed up, died or whatever because they're cheaply made. Even if you go with the Samsungs and some of the more premium brands, they're still cheaply made. They're just charging a premium for it. Whereas Apple are actually using genuinely, apart from the iPhone 7 and 8, which were hideous devices, the 10, XR and the modern ones, they are made using pretty decent components. So there is an argument for and against it. It's go with whatever you like using. But what I'm trying to say is that Androids are popular because they're cheap. And if there's a ton of them on the market at very, very low prices, you are going to gain a market share. That is obvious. That is the way life goes. Much like, I'm trying to think of another good analogy like that. I was going to say the Ford F-50 truck, but that's kind of not that cheap these days, but it used to be. Anyway, you get the general idea. Yeah, the right to repair, that's a kind of thing as well, I guess. John Sullivan says, actually that's quite a thing there. The members of the family who are Apple say things are easier on Apple. Yeah, if you're already on Apple, for a newcomer, it's not easy because you have to relearn how to use it. Something I would say about that as well, going back to Windows 11, because it's very similar to Windows 10, it's going to be very easy to navigate from between one and the other. It is essentially the same thing, just with a slightly different skin and tweaked code base, which is absolutely fine. I've got no issues with that whatsoever. That is another thing where Linux and Android share a lot of similarities. How many different versions of Android are there? And how different do they look on different devices? Samsung's version of Android is very different from OnePlus. Pocophone very different again. Xiaomi phones look very different. Huawei phones look very different. They all work in slightly different ways. So again, it's like Linux. There's a different version of Linux for different user styles, which is why, yes, it is easy to use and you can do what you like with it almost. You can open up developer options and forego any risks and sideload apps, do all that kind of stuff if you want to. That is a choice. Apple devices generally tend to be easier to use because they all use that similar coherent design through the operating systems, macOS, iPad, iPhone. They're kind of all very similar. macOS slightly different, I guess, but in general, yeah, it's all the same sort of thing. So they are slightly easier to use if you're used to that ecosystem. If you're an Android ecosystem, I've found even doing phone reviews, I'd go from like a Wiley Fox phone, for instance, then to my Xiaomi, then to a Motorola. Each one of them was different. And even on the same thing, like Android, I think it was probably Oreo back then, each one of them had a different version of Oreo where they did different things to get to it. That is the beauty of it, but also again, it's the downside of it. It's flexible, but also different. So you have to relearn stuff, which can be a pain in the backside. Again, depends if you've got the time and effort or you can be bothered to learn that stuff. So let's see what you guys are thinking.
Did you sunbathe?
Did I sunbathe? Yes, I did a little bit. Mellow Jello Cube says, sup, I'm back. I'm having issues with my computer again. Oh dear. Grand Reaper says, I have a Samsung Galaxy S21 5G. It's a $600 phone. That's quite an expensive phone. Aletta says, I remember my dad buying a new Ford pickup for $1,200. Cosmic Space Muffin says, what does the iPhone do that the OnePlus 7 does not? I can't find a good reason to buy an iPhone. I have an iPad and that thing's stuffed in a drawer.
We used to find things didn't pair with it.
Yeah, if you use things like Fitbit, even though technically it's owned by Android or Google now, Fitbit devices are murder. They don't like working with Android devices. In fact, probably most of the income that we've raised on this channel is because of Fitbit devices not working, especially on Android. And actually, Android devices...
And that BT Play and Go thing you've got.
Yeah, that's true.
Never worked.
I've got a Bluetooth speaker upstairs, which refuses to work on Android devices. And probably the top 3 videos on this channel are all called no sounding calls on Android. There's been a huge money spinner. The fact that I bought my first semi-modern Android, which was that's when I moved from Windows Phone to Android. I went with the Motorola G4 Gen 4, which was a pretty inexpensive device, about the same price as the Lumia, which I was using, the 640 I think it was, or maybe a 940 or something. It's about 150 quid. And I used it for about 2 days, and people would phone me and I was like, hello? Hello? Or I'd be like, they'd be hello, hello, and I'd be like, yeah, hi, it's me, it's Mike, what can I do for you? Hello, are you there? Hang up. Reboot the phone, it would work for a couple more calls, then it would die again. Because Android phones are so open, and on the App Store you can basically publish anything and you can install it, because of sloppy coding, quite often the microphone would stop working because one of the other apps would take the permissions from it, which is why eventually Android actually added the permissions thing. So now when you install an app, it asks you when you install it, do you want to give this access to your microphone? Do you want to give this access to your photos? Do you want to give this access to your speaker? Etc, etc. Do you want to give it access to Bluetooth? That was implemented because the programmers in general for a lot of the lower end Android apps are idiots. They program it for one device and it's like, yeah, that's fine, push it out. Then everyone installs this app and then suddenly, oh, I can't hear anyone. Now this did happen to iPhone as well, especially on the iPhone 7 and 8, but that was down to a hardware problem. So that's definitely a thing, but it's not as common. But Android is horrendous for if you install loads of apps, especially anything communications wise. Discord, no sound in Discord. Again, another huge video on our channel because of Android devices not working as they're meant to work, or not all of them working how they're supposed to.
Pairing things.
Yeah, we do pair a lot of stuff, to be fair. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that just doesn't work on Android. Not specifically Android in general, but certain implementations of Android on certain phones, which is why I come back to the thing where Apple devices, they're MFI or made for iPhone, so everything is designed to work with it. And because they all share a almost identical code base and hardware specs, it's so much easier for developers to go, okay, code the app, there we go, it works on that device. There's a 99% chance it's going to work on every iPhone out there. Whereas with Android, it's like, well, okay, it works with the OnePlus, but it doesn't play very well with the Samsung for some reason. Not too sure why that is. Let's try it on the Xiaomi. Oh, hang on. The Xiaomi's doing something different altogether. And it's because it's such a disjointed operating system with everyone changing little bits. It's just totally unstable. People are going to hate me for saying this, but it's true. You can deny it if you want to, but...
You hated me for years for saying that.
Yeah, I hated Kath for years for saying it, because I like using Android, because it's flexible and you can do stuff to it. But ultimately, it doesn't work reliably enough for me, which is why I switched. So if you're using a phone and it's just like you're playing games on it, or you get the odd call, that's absolutely fine. If it works for you, great. I'm really happy for you. But if you're running a business and it's got to work and it's got to be secure, and you can't afford to have things go wrong all the time or certain apps not to work properly,
and also
iPhone's the way to go.
And also with Android, they weren't updating the...
Oh yeah, Android didn't update security patches for like months on end.
Banking and stuff.
So if you're trying to do banking with certain apps like HSBC, you get to the point where they say, sorry, this app will not work any longer. You need to update. How's that going to help? If you're out and about and you're, oh, I need to transfer some money because I'm stuck somewhere. Oh, hang on, I've got to update the operating system.
And then there weren't updates available, was there?
It's ridiculous.
Dr. Hex wants you back on topic.
Sorry.
Have you seen the CPU list supported by Windows 11?
Yes. I have seen the supported list. Sorry, let's get back onto Windows 11. But it's all related. It is all related. Windows 11, love it or hate it, it's going to be the next step or the next evolution of Windows 10. Windows 10, for most people, I'd say probably all of you, pretty much every single one of you watching this is probably going to be on Windows 10. On at least one or two devices, if not all of them. Because it is, yeah, it's got quirks to it, and again, some things don't work, but that comes down to the whole kind of Android-y kind of elements to Windows against macOS. Because macOS, you can't really do a great deal to it. Things generally just work as they're meant to. With Windows, our good friend Brytech today released a video on screeching audio in Windows 10. And that's because Realtek have got a driver out which basically, even though most motherboards are using the same Realtek chipset, the driver works differently with different implementations of it on the motherboards. Which again comes down to the whole point of, if you want flexibility, you have to forego stability, or reliability even. Stability is probably the wrong word, but reliability or operability, I guess, would be probably the better word. So for me, Windows 11, I think is definitely going to be a step in the right direction. I think adding TPM, although for a lot of people it's going to be a downside, I think for security purposes, if they implement it in a good way, then I think for the people out there that are buying legitimate software from legitimate sources, then they've got you covered. If you're one of these people that's downloading dodgy movies, downloading dodgy music, pirating Adobe software, pirating whatever it is, these are the people that are going to get upset with TPM and stuff like that, because they're like, oh, I don't want to pay for Windows, or I don't want to pay for Office, or I don't want to pay for Adobe. Or the people that are buying and selling nicked goods. Oh, I've got a hard drive here. Oh, I can't use it. TPM. Oh, bloody hell, why do they put TPM on it? It's to stop assholes like you nicking my stuff. And that's probably what software developers are saying as well. But thank God, TPM, at last. Thank you very much. Yes, Kath.
Potato Salad asks, which among the 3 insider settings should I choose to get Windows 11 Beta? Is release preview channel enough? I'm too scared to try the dev channel.
If you're using, right, if you want to get Windows 11 on your PC and you want it as fast as physically possible, there's 2 ways of doing it. One of which is to go online and look for the leaked beta copy, which obviously is kind of piracy in a way, but whatever. I know what I just said about TPM, but yeah. Anyway, so if you want to trial the dev version, then you can download that from various ISOs, etc. If you want to get it in a legitimate way, join as an insider, and then you get the 3 options. So you get the dev channel, you get the beta channel, and then you get the fast ring, I think it is. They're changing the channel names very shortly, so it might change. If it's a machine which isn't mission critical, or isn't your primary machine, I would suggest going for the beta or the fast ring. If you want to get Windows as fast as possible though, if you want to get Windows 11 as fast as possible, then the dev channel is going to be the first one to get it. So dev channel will get it first of all. That'll be probably Monday. I'm hedging my bets, it's going to be Monday. For everybody else, it'll come slightly later. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the dev channel on Monday. Okay, don't quote me to it, but it's most likely. So dev channel will get it first, then the beta channel, and then following on will be the fast ring after that, and then the slow ring somewhere after that as well. So that is where it's gonna go. The dev channel is a little bit scary, but if the dev version is anything like the leaked version, which was amazingly stable, then I personally wouldn't worry about it. But if it's a mission critical PC or it's your only PC, then yeah, obviously you got to weigh out the pros and cons. If it's a PC you cannot afford for it to go down, don't install it. It's as simple as that. Don't be stupid. Think about it logically. If you need your PC and you can't be without it, don't install beta software or dev software or hooky software. Don't do it, because obviously it's going to get you, well, potentially it could end you up in a position where you're knackered. If it's a spare PC or you're not particularly bothered and it's not mission critical, and if the PC has the occasional crash or whatever, like I wouldn't probably use it for a streaming PC or for maybe a video editing PC, just in case. Don't mean you can't, but just think about it logically. It makes sense. If something's potentially untested and unstable, sorry, I was thinking of something else there. If there was something which is untested, would you use it on your main machine or your main system? You wouldn't. Logic dictates that if it's your only PC and it's your only avenue of using a computer, you don't mess with it. If it's working, don't touch it. Okay? If you don't care, install the dev or beta versions, get Windows 11 as soon as you can. But just weigh up the pros and cons. Now I can't tell you what the pros and cons are, and I can't tell you how important your PC is to you. Likewise, you can't tell me how important this specific PC is to me. This is my streaming PC. If I put Windows 11 on it, I've got another PC. I can carry on streaming. It isn't the end of my world. Financially, I can still carry on creating streams and basically earning money. So, yeah, it isn't a big deal.
Dr. Hex UK.
Dr. Hex UK.
If you go back up, there's quite a few of them. If you see where my name is, there's a few under that one.
About the rootkit?
Up a bit more. Underneath Stuart Cleary's one.
Stuart Cleary. Secure boot and TPM isn't about software piracy. Well,
and it goes on.
It isn't.
You've got to read them all
It
first.
isn't, but it will be. I'm sure of it.
Read the rest and then.
Yeah, secure boot and TPM isn't about software piracy. It isn't specifically. It's more for encrypting. But you can encrypt anything on Windows. You can encrypt files. You can encrypt executables. You can encrypt whole volumes if you want to. So by going down the TPM route, it gives the end user some security, so for encrypting files, But also as well, there's nothing stopping a developer adding TPM support to an application. And I'm pretty sure Adobe will. I'd almost put money on it that Adobe, selling their software via the Windows Store, will add TPM on it. It's the start. It definitely is the start of clamping down on piracy or software sharing. Mark my words. It wasn't intended as that initially. It's essentially a hash check to make sure that something is legit. But what's to stop them saying, okay, so this drive is yours? What's stopping them saying this app is yours? This software is yours? This file is yours? There's not a big difference. In terms of encryption, it's just as easy to encrypt an executable file as it is to encrypt a Word document. So, yes, it isn't about piracy now. Nothing stopping it being about piracy next week, next month, next year.
Right. Stuart Cleary first.
Stuart Cleary.
Super chat.
Super chat. €5. Did you pick up any Prime Day bargains, Mike? I enjoyed your bargain finds over the years. I've got to be honest with you, Prime Day, I did say a little bit earlier, Prime Day from us this year was horrendous. There was nothing. We did buy, in fact, something else. We bought a water purifier. Sorry, water filter. Shouldn't call it a purifier. Not a purifier, is it? It's a filter. So we built ourselves a water filter so we can ditch the Brita. That was fantastic, like that. Half price, 50% off. Love it. Review coming on that very shortly. But there was nothing else that really floated my boat. There was a couple of decent bargains, I suppose, for SSDs and NVMEs, but nothing that really made me go like, oh, I need that in my life, or I don't need that in my life, but I'm going to buy it anyway. Although saying that, yes, I did. I bought a Cooler Master 212 Evo version 2 cooler, which apparently is due sometime in July. Wonder what will come first, the 212 Evo cooler or Windows 11? Hopefully Windows 11.
Jason Williams.
Alan Reader says that's the third power cut this episode. Yeah, it's terrible. Darren says, man always finds a way around the code. Oh, definitely. The TPM thing in Windows installation, there's already a way around it by taking the parts of the Windows 10 ISO and putting them into the Windows 11 ISO and then booting. So it bypasses all of that stuff. So it's definitely possible.
Willie Bob says he has the same laptop as you. How loud are your speakers on yours? His is extremely quiet on max volume. Ours isn't good, but not too bad.
I find the volume on this laptop, this is the Acer Aspire A515-43, Ryzen 5 3500U. Speakers are the downside on this thing, and it depends exactly what you're actually on. So if what can I play? I actually find them to be quite loud, but it depends on the audio source. So if I play just a regular file, where are we? Videos, live stream stuff. So
Premium CD keys is not working.
Is it not?
It's still there. I'm probably updating, aren't they?
Ah, they might. I wonder if they're listing the Windows 11 keys, or they might be taking the 2019 ones off. Let's have a look. Where are we? Mike's unboxing. Otis McDonald. Right. So here's Otis McMusic, which if I unmute it, who's that? Right. There is the. That's on full blast. There we go. So it's yeah, they're not the loudest of speaker, but they get the job done. Could be a bit louder. Jason Woods, catch you later. Thank you very much. So that's how loud they are.
Oh, potato salad just up a bit.
Hang on, I'm losing track of where I am now.
And me.
Jason, who am I looking for?
Potato salad.
Potato salad. Potato salad. If you're both married for 25 years, then Mike should be at least 45 years old by now. He looks much younger. You snatched a fine man, Miss Thang Calf.
I
Yeah.
can't do the bangs.
Well, I think it's my my baldness, which actually detracts from my age slightly. Otherwise, it would just be a grey mop. I'm glad the eyebrow. I'm glad the eyebrows haven't gone. If the eyebrows went grey as well, then that would be it. But thank you, potato salad, very kind of you. William Bodie says, at Calf Churchill, I missed the bang boom.
I can't
And
do
then
it
Mike
unless
jumps.
I'm doing something technical.
Yeah, if I'm doing something, if I'm doing something technical, it's good. 999 Dom says, you're the best, Mike. Thank you very much. What it's like to have your own little echo chamber. It's fantastic. Logan says, well, Windows 11 is an extension of Windows 10, I guess. They never said they would support all hardware forever. They never promised that. No, they didn't. You're quite right. And the thing is, ultimately, you think there's... How many...
Cosmic's off, he's on a holiday.
Oh yeah, Cosmic's on holiday. Enjoy your holiday. Take care. Oh, and thank you for the game. I forgot to thank you properly for that. I did try playing Insurgency. I'm not very good at it, I'll be honest. But when you get back on holiday, we'll have to have some games on that. So, sorry, going back to, Windows 11, it's one of those things, we always assume that everything's going to go on forever. Or as long as we want things to last as long as physically possible, don't we? That's ultimately what it's about. But it's the same with mobile phones. You get to the point, Android devices normally have got maybe 3 to 5 years before they kind of start losing support. The Android One program, I think, guarantees you, I think it's 2 years of updates, and then security patches thereafter for a limited time. Obviously, Apple devices, I think is it the App 6 is lost support recently? The 6 and the 6S? Or is that still going? Do you know, Kath?
Sorry, say again?
iPhone 6S, that's still supported, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is.
Even the 5, I think, actually, isn't it? What's your mum got?
Mum's got my 7.
Oh, 7, so yeah, probably why.
She didn't want my 5.
So yeah, iPhone 6 or whatever, if that's just about to end support, that's not bad. So, what was it?
She was
6, 7, 8, XR, 12, is there 11?
Yeah, Angel's got 11.
So it's a good 6, 7 years that we've had those devices.
But Mum's only just given up using her 4S.
Yes, that's not bad. Not bad at all. Skystalker says loud for a laptop. It's not too bad, but it's what you put it on. If you don't put on a flat surface, which is reflective, the sound just gets swallowed into the surface because the speakers are actually underneath here. So if you're on anything which is even remotely absorbent, even some soft woods, it will absorb the sound, and it's not particularly loud. Well, I did find at one point,
We did have...
I changed the drivers, and someone else complained about it. They bought one of these laptops, and
really
they got really upset with me, saying, "I bought your laptop, and you never said the speakers were awful." It's like, well, I don't think they are. You've watched the videos, you've watched the reviews, you've asked the questions,
Sorry, ugly Bob.
and that was it. So yeah, that was soft wood.
You made me choke on my coffee.
Anyway, so yeah, I think it's a good laptop. I still do. Otherwise, well, I wouldn't use it, would I? I'd sell it and buy something else. But I find it fine. The music's fine. I listen to it. Watching movies. When I'm testing headphones is fine, obviously, because I'm plugging headphones in. But even still, just using it day to day, I find it absolutely fine. The speakers, yeah, totally usable. They're not as loud as some of those other models, which have got front-facing ones or top-facing ones for obvious reasons. But yeah, I think it's absolutely serviceable. I think a lot of it is to do with the Realtek drivers for the audio. I'm sure it is. Quite often Windows Update will put the wrong drivers in, and I've noticed then sound is definitely lower, but I've not been able to replicate it on a regular enough basis to say, yes, this is the specific driver which makes it sound like CAC. Anyway, moving on.
BJ cans.
Oh, where to is that?
It's not far from the bottom.
BJ Cans. Sorry, I'm looking through the chat here. Oh yeah, BJ Cans, sorry, I can see it. Can I still run a 4 gig RAM on 1.6 gigahertz Intel Celeron old laptop? Mine has TPM P 2.0 and IPTT enabled in BIOS. It depends which processor it is. There was a list, if you go back in the video, we'll put it in the links after as well. Bob's put it in the chat. There's a link for the, actually, see if I can do that for you now. I'll stick the link in the chat so you can check it out. Windows processor requirements, copy, and Control and V, enter. There we go, I've put it into the chat for you, so there's a link in there you can check out, see if your processor is listed.
Right. Well, what drivers are you using?
What drivers am I using, Mike? Let's have a look. Where are we? Device manager. Where are we? Audio, sound and audio. Realtek drivers have always been the bane of my existence. So, Realtek are audio. There we go. Properties. Driver. Okay, so the driver that I'm using is, actually I'll show you the screen, that'll be easier, won't it? Oh, which button is it? I always forget that. 2. No, it's not. That's 3. My main one. Windows Desktop 3. Oh, why is this not working now? Ah, there we go. So there we go. There is the version we're using. So Realtek Audio. The driver date is the 16th of the 6th, 2020. Driver version 6.0.8971.1. And that was actually Microsoft Windows Hardware Compatibility Publisher. So this is actually a Windows driver by the look of it. Oh no, provided by AMD. So it's the AMD chipset drivers which installed it by the looks of it. Anyway, you've got all the information there, so you can work out. As you can see, I've got loads of audio devices. I've got the high definition audio device, which is the HDMI audio. The streaming audio device, which is the OBS driver. Got the Game Capture HD60, which is the capture software. Got the webcam and the Realtek audio. So plenty of drivers there.
Funnels.
Okay. Not sure what's going on with this now. It's not changing things. Thanos, I'm sorry if this question has already been answered. Doesn't matter because you can just snap us all out of existence. But would the same Office 2019 key from Premium CD keys installed on Windows 10 work on Windows 11? Yes, it appears to. The only thing is with the Office 2019 keys that you get from Premium CD keys and pretty much all of those sites, they're tied to the hardware. So they are effectively, they're a retail license, but they're locked to the OEM strings of the hardware. So yeah, if you leave it installed and you just do an upgrade, you'll be fine. If you reinstall it on the same PC, in theory it should be fine. But because Microsoft are deactivating the official Office 2019 servers for activation, that is where problems may occur. So potentially you might need to either get another key from Premium CD keys, get in touch with their help and support, they'll be absolutely fine, as long as it's on the same hardware. There are some weird stuff going on with Office 2019, I'll be completely honest with you. Premium CD keys have actually been out of stock of it since before Christmas, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's before Christmas. So I don't think the keys are available, or if they are available, they're not entirely on the level, because I've seen ones on AliExpress where they actually give you a little guide on how to activate it, and it involves writing down the code number that's generated, then emailing them, and they send you a code back, which basically means they've got an activation hack or a keygen. So yeah, that's a little bit bad. 2019, in my opinion, I don't know this for sure, I'm pretty sure Office 2019 is finished activation wise, so if you need to reactivate it, I don't think it'll reactivate, is my honest opinion. I'm yet to try it, but I might actually do it if I can get hold of a key. All my machines now are on Office 365 for Office, because for the sake, well, we've got 1, 2, 3, there's about 8 machines, and I can't buy a Windows license, an Office license for every PC individually, because that doesn't make any sense. So I've gone and got the Office 365 from Amazon, which there's a 15-month license for less than 40 quid. So yeah, about 40 quid for a 15-month license, which is great. Especially when I reinstall, uninstall all the time, I can just deactivate a license, reinstall it, and I can have 5 users on the account, and each user can have like 6 or 7 devices. So yeah, you've got tons and tons of flexibility there. For the Windows license itself, I would always go for premium CD keys, because it just makes sense, it's a lot cheaper. But for Office, it's a little bit, sorry?
About £5.
Yeah, it's about £5 UK price, about €6 possibly. But for Office, in theory, yes, because it's Windows 10 and 11 kind of activate in the same way. But Office, especially Office 2019, is a very different beast at the moment. So
Stuart uses Office for invoices and have a student subscription.
yeah, that's also another good way of doing it as well.
I'm having trouble saving and editing when offline.
Thanks, Aletta. Potato salad, face reveal. She said she'd do it when Brightech does. So that ain't gonna happen. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, the after parties. Yeah, we used to do the. We haven't done all those after parties for ages. The trouble is, working on a Sunday now makes it. Yeah, it's too much of a late night. Logan says scalpers are actually hoarding TPM chips for motherboards and scalping them. I feel bad for people who will need one who don't have a TPM built into their CPU. Yeah, I suppose that is going to be one of the kind of silver linings to being a reasonably early adopter of the Ryzen kind of 3000 series and above. So kind of, yeah, bit of a win for Team AMD there. Stuart Cleary, I use Office for invoices, blah blah. Yeah, that student thing is really good. Office Suite is free for students. Kenny D says I just use LibreOffice. Actually, LibreOffice for most people is absolutely fine. I use Outlook a lot, like all day, every day. So it's not, with Outlook, it's really nice to be able to have Outlook on various machines and have all my emails coming into Outlook. It's the business leader, because everybody uses Outlook. It is actually really good. But yeah, LibreOffice is absolutely fine. If it wasn't for the fact, I'm trying to think, why did I actually swap over full time?
We had that really rubbish email thing, and it was just rubbish.
Yeah.
I think that's why I want that.
A lot of it was down to PowerPoint at one point, because I needed to use PowerPoint, and LibreOffice's PowerPoint didn't integrate exactly to other machines using PowerPoint, the Microsoft version. Even though they had like a compatibility mode, it just didn't translate properly. So I'd end up making graphics for a company on LibreOffice. Then I'd take it into them, they'd run it, and it's like, well, that doesn't look right. What's up with that? It's formatted all wrong. I was like, oh God. So I went back to PowerPoint and all was well.
Wasn't it also because I have your emails on my PC?
That is part of it as well, yeah. Dutch Jan says, just bought Cooler Master Master Liquid ML360 ARGB. Awesome stuff. I'm not going to say any jokes about getting an umbrella ready, but I'll say it before someone else does, if they haven't already. William says, potato salad, are we not all students of the meaning of life? Yeah, we definitely are.
Do you think the rumours are true in regard to the Intel Rocket Lake thingy?
That is supposed to optimise it. I'm not too sure what that is, to be honest with you, Mark. I'm not sure. What do you think the rumours are for Intel Rocket Lake thingy? I'm not too sure. I wasn't aware of anything. That may have missed me. Blake says 42, that is the meaning of life. Yeah, that was the thing. Macros was one of the problems actually in PowerPoint. Well, not a macro, but it was, what was it, like a script or something that was in PowerPoint and it just didn't translate right. Anyway, you get the general idea. I just realised actually the output on the screen, I can see both screens there. I can see the live feed that's going into OBS, and I can see what you guys can see on the screen. It actually looks completely different.
Skystalker.
It's like all the colours come out of it.
Skystalker said Bob told him the meaning of life was 69.
Dear Lord. Right, okay. Yeah, I think that's going to do it. I've gone way past time actually. Being that I got a bit up for work tomorrow, that's not a good sign. So, thank you all for joining us on this joyous Saturday evening while my suntan has been developing as we speak. It's getting a bit warm now. I've got the fan on above as well. It's still not helping, so it's going to be...
You can tell by the way your hair's blowing.
Yeah, my hair's blowing because of the fan.
Your eyebrows.
My eyebrows are... Yes, anyway. So hopefully you've learned something about Windows 11. Hopefully you've learned about my my tastes in operating systems and also mobile phone devices. What can I say? It's my opinions. I've never asked anybody to agree with my opinion. It is my opinion. This is all. You are welcome to your own. And I encourage them. And I encourage a debate as well. It's always good to discuss things and get your side of things across, which is why we don't really ban people from chat or from our Discord. And if you leave a comment on a video, then even if it's a negative one, I will answer it and I'll say, well, okay, help me out. What have I done wrong? Please let me know. That's what it's all about. Communication. Excellent stuff. I'm waffling now, aren't I? So thank you all very much for joining us in the stream. Thank you all for the super chats. No, we're not putting a bang into the... No, we're not putting the bang in. The bang's not going to happen.
I can't find the cat.
Oh, there's no cats either. I do apologise. Sorry about that. So, thanks for watching, and yeah, we will see you on Monday in the next video, which is...
No idea.
No idea. There you go. So, if you're a Patreon member, you'll find out what video is on Sunday, because you'll get early access to the videos. And actually, that's it. One thing before we go, one thing I was going to ask, we are considering toying with the ideas of YouTube memberships. Now, we don't want to upset our patrons, but we also acknowledge that some people don't want to use Patreon because YouTube memberships is a little bit easier. So, do we open up membership to give you guys access to videos, which we were thinking of being able to do anything up to a week in advance? Would you become members? Or what other perks would you like? Have a think about it. Let us know in the video comments or in the chat. Well, yeah, do it in the chat.
In the comments.
Do it in the comment section after the video. If there's anything you can specifically think of, which would be an encouragement for you to become a member of this YouTube channel, let us know. We are very interested to see what your thoughts are. We've not made any decisions one way or the other. We're quite happy with our very loyal and very humbling patrons at the moment. So thank you all to the patrons, and obviously for those of you that do super chats and all that kind of stuff. But some people want to do a little bit more, bizarrely. Don't know why, but thank you. We do appreciate it. And they've asked about memberships. So It's
What can we
something.
give back in return?
Yeah, what can we give you? Early access, we can do. Members only streams, we can definitely do. Maybe even members only kind of live support to some extent. I don't even know if we can do that, but potentially that is on the cards as well. Anyway, you have a think about it. Let us know in the comments what you think. So I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.